Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be doing a quick comparison between the Amazon Fire Max 11 and the all-new iPad A16. Now before I start the comparison, I do want to mention the Fire Max 11 is about 1/3 more budget friendly, so keep that in mind as I do end up doing this comparison. Let's start with the design and the build. Both of the tablets are around 11 inches. And as you guys can see, the Fire Max is definitely a more longer tablet. So even though they do have the same size of the screen itself is a bit more stretched on the Fire Max 11. Now when it comes to the rest of the build, both of them do have aluminum body. I think the iPad looks pretty nice in this color. I do like the build of the iPad. It charges with the USB-C, also does have the stereo speakers and the Touch ID to unlock it. Now the Fire Max 11 also does have the fingerprint sensor, but it also supports facial recognition as well to unlock it. Now the Fire Max 11 aluminum body, single camera on the back. As already mentioned, it does have the Touch ID on the side, and then we have the pins for the accessories. And another thing I'm trying to show you is here, it does have the SD card expansion. So if you want to add the more storage, you can easily do that. Unfortunately, you can't do that with the iPod. Now, when it comes to performance, this is where the iPad shines. It does have the Apple A16 Bionic chip, which is the flagship CPU taken from their iPhone. So overall performance-wise is really impressive. It also does have 6 GB of RAM, and the storage starts at 128 GB. Now, the Fire Max 11 does have the MediaTek CPU, 4 GB of RAM. Storage starts at 64 or 128 GB. When it comes to the Fire Max 11 performance, it's been pretty good so far. I do end up doing quite a lot of multitasking, gaming, media consumptions, and I never had any issues. So overall, both really good performance-wise, but again, the iPad does have a much better CPU. Display-wise, both 11-inch IPS LCD. Now the resolution is different. That's why the Fire Max looks a little bit more stretched. It does have the resolution of 2000 x 1200 with 213 pixels per inch, 60 Hz refresh rate, and 410 nits of typical brightness. While the iPad has 2360 x 1640 resolution with 264 pixels per inch, also 60 Hz refresh rate and 500 nits of typical brightness. So both tablets do have pretty good colors and the brightness, so they are perfect for gaming or the media consumption. Another thing that I absolutely love doing on my Fire Max 11 is doing Kindle, reading books and stuff like that, and I think it's perfect for that. When it comes to the cameras, iPad again does have much improved cameras. I believe they did take them off one of their iPhones. On the back, we do have 12 megapixel ultra wide camera. And then on the back, we have 12 megapixel landscape center stage camera. And let me tell you, if you want to do some video chats, that camera is impressive. Now the Fire Max 11 does have 8 megapixel autofocus camera on the back. And then we also have 8 megapixel on the front. It records in the 1080p. And again, if you're using it for video chats, it will definitely do the job. Now the iPad can record in the 4K at 60 frames per second, so that's pretty impressive. Now when it comes to the battery life, this is where the Fire Max really shines. It can get up to 14 hours of mixed usage, and in my experience I'm getting even over 14, which is extremely impressive, while the iPad gets around 10 hours of mixed usage. Charging wise, the iPad is just a little bit faster at 20 watts wired, while the Fire Max charges at 15 watts. Now, one of the biggest differences between the two is the operating system. Now, the iPad runs the iPad OS, which looks the same as, for example, an iPhone. It's just in a bigger size. While the Fire Max 11 runs its own Fire OS, which is based off of Android. It is different. For example, here, if we move it to the left, we have For You section, which will give me quite a lot of different things I can end up getting, like apps, movies, games, and stuff like that. And then on this main page, we do have all the apps that I have, and also it will give you some recommendations on Fire OS. Is a pretty good operating system ecosystem, especially if you're in the Amazon ecosystem, in the Alexa ecosystem, because it does have a very good support for their, for example, Blink cameras, for their Echo stuff, for Kindle, Audible, and all their apps and devices that the Amazon has. So if you're in that ecosystem, then the Fire Max is definitely the tablet you should be getting. Now, when it comes to the connectivity, they are pretty similar. We have Wi-Fi 6 and the Bluetooth 5.3 on each one. The only difference is the iPad does have the 5G connection as well. Of course, you do have to get that additionally. And finally, when it comes to the speakers, the iPad has the landscape stereo speakers, while the Fire Max 11 has those speakers with Dolby Atmos. And I gotta say, both do sound really impressive. Now, when it comes to my recommendation, if you're looking for top tier performance for demanding application, multitasking, and high end gaming, and if you're into the whole Apple ecosystem, if you have their, for example, computer, iPhone, and stuff like that, then the iPad is the one to go for. But if you're looking for something that's more budget friendly and your main primary use is media consumption like streaming, reading, casual games, especially within Amazon ecosystem, then the Fire Max is the one you should be getting. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day.